Chapter 3. The Funeral. The next morning, Jason found Alice in the study, surrounded by papers and a laptop. "Working on funeral arrangements?" he asked, handing her a cup of coffee. Alice nodded, accepting the coffee gratefully.
Thanks. Yes, there's a lot to coordinate. Dad was well known in the business world. We're expecting quite a turnout.
Jason took a seat opposite her. "Need any help?"
Actually, yes, Alice said. Glad to have some help. Could you go through this list and make sure we haven't missed anyone important? You might remember some of Dad's old associates that I've forgotten.
Jason took the list and scanned it. "I doubt it. Most of these names I don't even recognize. 4 years is a long time to be away."
Longer when you choose to stay away.
Alice remarked without looking up. "That's not fair, Alice," Jason said quietly. "You know why I left." Alice finally met his gaze.
Do I? Because all I know is one day, you and Dad had a massive fight. And the next, you were gone. You barely called. You barely texted. You missed every single holiday, even when I invited you.
He disowned me, Alice. What was I supposed to do?
Fight for your place in this family.
Alice shot back.
Instead, you ran away and left me to deal with everything. Do you have any idea what it's been like these past 4 years? Watching Dad working himself to death, trying to save the company, while Victoria and her brood circling like vultures ready to pounce at any moment, and me trying to hold it all together.
Jason looked down, guilt washing over him. "I'm sorry. I didn't think."
No, you didn't.
Alice interrupted, but her voice had softened.
But you're here now, and that's what matters.
A knock at the door interrupted them. A young woman who seemed to be in her 20s entered with a tablet in hand. She was dressed in a sleek navy blue pencil skirt paired with a crisp white blouse, the collar neatly buttoned up. A thin black belt cinched her waist, and she wore modest black heels that clicked softly on the floor with each step.
Good morning, Miss Harrison. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I finalized the seating arrangements for the service as you requested.
She said, then noticed Jason, but didn't address him.
Thank you, Mary.
Alice replied. Mary nodded stiffly.
Oh, Mary, this is my brother Jason.
Alice added. Mary turned to Jason and greeted.
Good day, sir. It's nice to meet you.
Before he could respond, Mary turned back to Alice. Jason felt like Mary didn't like him for some reason. He shook off the feeling. After all, this was the first time meeting her.
The florist called. They can't source the white lilies you requested. They suggested white roses instead.
Mary said. Alice sighed.
That won't do. Dad hated roses. Please keep looking.
Very well.
Mary said, making a note.
Also, Mr. Alexander Owens has come to see you. He's asking to speak with both of you.
Alex is here. Jason perked up. Please, send him in. Mary nodded and left, returning moments later with Alexander. The older man, dressed impeccably in a tailored suit, smiled warmly at the sight of Jason.
Jason, my boy, it's been a while,
he said, opening his arms for an embrace. Jason stood and hugged him tightly. Uncle Alex, it's good to see you.
though I wish it were under better circumstances.
Alexander replied, his eyes full of sadness.
It's sad to see him go so soon. He was a good man and an even better friend. Stubborn as hell, but a good man.
Was he? Jason couldn't help asking. Alexander gave him a knowing look.
Come on, Jason. I know he had his flaws, as we all do, but he loved you, Jason, even when he was too proud to say it.
I wish I could agree with you, but it's hard to forget all the bad experiences, even now.
I know. Believe me, I know,
Alex said while patting Jason's back. After chatting with Alice for a while, Alex headed out. The day of the funeral arrived with appropriately somber weather. Dark clouds hung low, and a light drizzle fell as guests began to arrive at the Harrison estate for the service. Jason stood in his old room, adjusting his tie in the mirror. A knock at the door drew his attention. "Come in," he called. Alice entered, already dressed in a simple black dress.
Are you ready?
Jason nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be,"
Well, put on your best smile. There are a ton of people down there.
Alice informed him.
Business associates, friends, relatives we haven't seen in years.
"Vultures, the lot of them," Jason muttered.
Maybe.
Alice conceded.
But some of them genuinely cared about Dad.
"Yeah, like who exactly?" Jason challenged.
Like Alex.
Alice replied.
He's been inconsolable. They were friends since childhood, and now he's lost him.
Jason's expression softened. "Yeah, I get it." Alice approached, straightening his already perfect tie.
It's okay to be angry, Jason. But today, try to remember the good times, too.
Jason nodded, placing a hand over hers. "I'll try." Downstairs, the grand hall had been transformed for the service. Rows of chairs faced a wooden podium, behind which stood a large portrait of Richard Harrison, looking dignified and commanding as always. As Jason entered, he noticed many familiar faces, as well as many he didn't recognize. Some nodded respectfully, others whispered behind their hands. He ignored them all and took his place in the front row beside Alice. The service began, with a series of speakers sharing memories of Richard. Business associates praised his vision and leadership. Friends spoke of his loyalty and generosity. Family members recalled his strength and determination. When it was Jason's turn to speak, he approached the podium slowly, aware of all eyes on him. He took a deep breath and looked out at the sea of faces. "My father and I had a complicated relationship, to say the least," Jason began. "We didn't always see eye to eye. In fact, we rarely did. But one thing I always admired about him was his unwavering commitment to his principles. He never wavered, never compromised what he believed was right." Jason paused, collecting his thoughts. "Many of you knew him as Richard Harrison, the business tycoon, the man who built an empire from nothing. But I knew him as Dad, the man who taught me to ride a bike, who stayed up all night helping me with my science project, who, despite his busy schedule, never missed a single one of my baseball games." Jason's voice cracked slightly. "After my mother died, things changed. We both changed. And eventually, those changes drove us apart. I left, thinking I could escape his shadow, prove something to myself. Now I realize I was running from everything, including him. I wish we had resolved our differences before he died, but alas, it is too late now." Jason looked at the portrait of his father, and I never got to say goodbye, never got to tell him that despite everything, I loved him. I hope, wherever he is now, he knows that. A heavy silence filled the room as Jason returned to his seat. Alice squeezed his hand, tears streaming down her face. After the service, guests mingled in the main hall, sharing memories and condolences. Jason found himself approached by countless people, many claiming to have been close to his father.
"Jason."
A voice called. He turned to see Alexander approaching.
"That was a beautiful speech."
"Thanks, Uncle Alex," Jason replied. "I meant every word."
"I know you did."
Alexander said.
"Your father would have been proud."
"I doubt that," Jason said skeptically.
"Believe me, he would."
Alexander assured him.
"I know things didn't go well."
"That's an understatement," Jason muttered.
But I know he wanted only the best for you and your sister. Alexander continued. Before Jason could respond, the family lawyer approached.
Excuse me, Mr. Harrison. We're ready for the reading of the will, if you'll join us in the study.
Jason looked to Alexander. I don't need to be there. I doubt he left me anything. He probably left everything to that gold digger.
Nevertheless,
The lawyer insisted.
your presence is required. Your father was quite specific about that.
Reluctantly, Jason followed the lawyer to the study, where others had already gathered. Victoria and her children sat on one side, looking expectant. Various relatives and business associates filled the remaining seats. Alice patted the empty chair beside her, and Jason sat down.
Now that everyone is present, I will proceed with the reading of Richard Harrison's last will and testament.
The room fell silent as the lawyer adjusted his glasses and began to read.
To my dear friends, Jonathan Miller and Peter Thompson, I leave my yacht, Sea Venture, and my collection of vintage sports cars to be divided between them as they see fit.
The two men nodded solemnly.
To my nephews and nieces,
The lawyer continued.
I leave $50,000 each.
A few murmurs of satisfaction spread through the room.
To Mary, my assistant, I leave $10 million and one of my properties in Texas, as well as my two favorite vintage cars.
At this, Victoria frowned deeply, wondering why the assistant had gotten so much money. As a matter of fact, why had she gotten anything at all? Mary, on the other hand, sat quietly, her face stoic.
To my stepchildren, Nathan and Stacy, I leave $50,000 each.
That's it?
Nathan exclaimed, clearly outraged by this meager amount.
After everything I've done for him.
Victoria hushed him quickly.
To my wife, Victoria,
The lawyer continued, unperturbed by the outburst.
I leave $200,000.
Victoria's face turned ashen.
Wait, is that all? Surely there must be more.
Yes, Mrs. Harrison, that is all.
The lawyer said simply.
This must be some kind of mistake. I'm his wife, for crying out loud.
She protested.
There is no mistake, Mrs. Harrison. This is what is stated in the will.
The lawyer assured her. Murmurs and whispers filled the room as Victoria stood there, embarrassed.
To continue, to my daughter, Alice, I leave $22 million and 10% of my 50% share in Harrison Technologies. Hearing this, Alice showed no hint of emotion. And finally,
He said, turning to Jason.
to my son, Jason, whom I have wronged grievously, I leave the remainder of my estate, including all properties, bank accounts, investments, and the remaining 40% of my shares in Harrison Technologies, making him the majority shareholder and, by extension, the new CEO of Harrison Technologies. The total value of this bequest is approximately $100 million.
The room erupted in chaos. Victoria shot to her feet, face contorted with rage. Nathan and Stacy began shouting accusations. Relatives who had received comparatively little looked stunned. But Jason heard none of it. He sat frozen, unable to process what he'd just heard. Victoria's voice cut through the clamor.
This is outrageous. This can't be his final will and testament. I personally saw him write his will. How is it possible that his assistant and bastard son got more money than me?
Mrs. Harrison,
The lawyer interrupted firmly.
the will is quite clear and legally binding. Mr. Richard Harrison was of sound mind when he made these arrangements, just 6 months ago.
6 months? Jason finally found his voice. He changed his will a few months ago? The lawyer nodded.
Yes, Mr. Harrison. Your father updated his will 6 months ago. He asked that no changes be made after that by anyone, and that all changes be kept confidential.
Jason looked to Alice, who appeared just as shocked as he was. "Did you know about this?" Alice shook her head.
I had no idea, Jason. I swear.
As the reality of his new situation began to sink in, Jason realized that this was real, and he had just inherited his father's legacy.